Hey guys, welcome to the Titanium Vault. I'm your host, RJ Bates III. Today's episode is called Excuse Plus a Story. This idea came to me when I was a general manager at Pizza Hut. This is probably 15 plus years ago. And I remember at the time when this was told to me that I didn't get it. I didn't like what they were saying. It just didn't make sense. Excuse plus a story. And it was funny because I was literally using the concept while in my mind defending myself and disagreeing with the concept. I was telling myself like, well, the excuse is the story. Where's the plus a story? And it just didn't resonate with me. And I kind of just moved on from it. And I didn't really want to believe in this theory. Okay. But here's the reality. Human beings love a good story. Okay. We literally entertain ourselves at all times with stories. We're watching television. We read books. Even when we talk to other people, majority of the time, it's based around some story that is being told. Okay. Even when we're being super productive, there's still some kind of story that's being told and played out, okay? And the best stories that we actually tell are usually to ourselves, okay? You're constantly talking to yourself and you're constantly telling yourself some story, okay? And so the concept around excuse plus a story is the reality is it's easier to accept our story than it is to create change. Okay? We can sit there and tell ourselves, this is the reason why I'm not getting the desired result. But at the end of the day, are you actually happier accepting the story than you are the desired result that you're supposedly trying to achieve? Let me give you a couple of examples, okay? I asked this a couple of weeks ago during Batch TV. Why do people make the decision to not virtually wholesale across the entire United States? The vast majority of people, and when I say the vast majority, I mean, we would have to go back, but I would say almost 100% of the people said, because I would be worried about dispositions, and that's why I don't virtually wholesale in other markets or the entire United States. I'm worried about dispositions. Okay, well, that's cute, but a couple of weeks ago, I created a video that showed you how you can virtually dispo nationwide. So that excuse is gone. So what's your story now? Okay, here's a couple of other things. I really want wholesaling to become my full-time career. Okay. So why aren't you? I don't have time. How many people do you know, and maybe it's even yourself, has said, I don't have time right now to make wholesaling a priority. So that's why I've continued to work my job, or that's why I've continued to show up to RIA meetings and networking events and say, this is going to be what I'm going to do, just not yet. I don't have time. And here, let me tell you my story. This is the reason why I don't have time. I'm a single mom. Okay, cool. Know plenty of single moms that are wholesaling. Don't know why that's your excuse. Cool story. I work a full-time job. I don't have the money yet. I don't have the education. All of these are the different types of stories that we follow the excuse of, I don't have time, but let me tell you my story. Okay. The reality is that at some point in time, you have to stop telling yourself these stories, okay? The excuse will always be there. You can always create a story because that's literally what we're always doing. We're always telling stories. We're always listening to stories, okay? Once I adopted that excuse plus a story was a way of life, okay? And it changed my mindset towards what I can and can't create for myself. That's when I started seeing a change in the results. The change, the the desired result started coming my direction. Because no longer was the excuse plus a story. The excuse can be there. But if you're telling yourself a story to keep the excuse there, that's where the downfall lies. If you keep the excuse there with your stories, you're up shit creek. Because it's not ever going to go away. The only way the excuse goes away is you say, I'm not going to tell myself the story anymore. I'm going to change the narrative and I'm going to eliminate the excuse. That only happens in your head. You have to start telling yourself a different story. You have to start telling yourself the story of the actions that you're going to take to get the desired result that you want. It sounds very simple until you actually start thinking about the words that you tell yourself. How do you talk to yourself when no one else is listening? Because the reality is, I get to talk to a lot of people that want to do things that we do here at Titanium Investments. They want to do it. And the only way I can understand as to why they're not doing it is by asking questions. And so I hear the excuses, and then I hear the stories that immediately follow after that. I use excuse plus a story over and over and over again in the Titanium Crucible. Don't be this person. Don't tell me the excuse plus a story. Because if that is your way of communicating with yourself and with other people as to why you're not achieving your results, it's inevitable that you're going to forever stay there. The results are not going to change with you continuing to tell yourself the story as to why you're not achieving what you want. You have to change the narrative. Otherwise, the results will never change. It's a very simple way of talking to yourself and thinking about business and life. But it's the power of your own mind. It controls everything. It literally controls whether or not you're going to ever achieve what you want. We talk about it all the time. Create a vision board. What do you want to create? What are the things that you're telling yourself? Do you sit there and say to yourself that I want to own 100 rentals. I want to have $100,000 in net passive income a month. These are things that I have said. And then I sit there and instead of saying this is how I'm going to achieve it, I tell myself I can't do it yet because we have to do this first. Did you hear that? Let's repeat that. It went like this: excuse and then the story. It doesn't matter what it's about. It always follows in that line. I can't do it yet, and this is the reason why. If you are continually doing that to yourself, you're literally limiting your potential. You are. Nobody else is. That is how you are talking to yourself. Imagine if you put yourself, think about the person that you care most about in your life. You want them to achieve everything in their life that they could ever possibly want. I think about my children. My son, he's 8 years old. He's going to be 9 in October. He has told me he wants to play in the NHL. Now, I could give him all of the reasons in the world why he won't make the NHL. First of all, he has my genes. I didn't make the NHL. I'm not a professional athlete. Back in my day, I was pretty good at sports, but never was highly recruited or sought after by professional or collegiate organizations. The other aspect of it is does he have the long-term desire to do this for the next 20 years of his life? That's yet to be seen. I could tell him all of these things. But what would that do to his mind? What would that do to the desire that he has to be an NHL player? It would destroy it. It would literally be telling him, odds are stacked against you, son. You're probably not going to do that. Now think about how you talk to yourself. Do you do that to yourself? Do you sit there and do you look at someone that has an influence on your life, whether it be me or anybody else that you consume information and fuel yourself with? Do you sit there and compare yourself to them and say, I couldn't do that. I couldn't do what titanium does. If you do that, then you're basically guaranteeing yourself that you're not going to get the results that you eventually want or you desire in your life. The way that we communicate with ourselves is vitally important to the end results. And so if you are finding yourself trapped in the excuse plus a story constant form of communication, then make a conscious effort moving forward to eliminate that self from yourself. Talk to yourself with speaking it into existence, what you want to happen, how it's going to happen. I literally play out conversations in my head about how I want this to go. Earlier today, I had a gentleman that came into our office that was wanting to see if Titanium Investments was a good fit for him to come in and do acquisitions and dispositions. After about 30 minutes through the interview, which it was an interview for both of us, he needed to know if Titanium was a good fit for himself, and we didn't know if he was going to be a good fit for us. But the entire time I was talking, I was assuming the sell. It wasn't about whether or not he was going to come in and work for us or with us. It was, this is absolutely what's going to happen. I was speaking that into existence because that's what I wanted to happen. And the end results are he is going to start working with us and he will be doing acquisitions and dispositions for us. And I truly believe that a large part of that is because he said he had already spoken to multiple people in the area about doing the exact same position, and he had walked away from those companies. And the difference is because he resonated with me and Cassie and who we are and how we carry ourselves. And I think a lot of that has to do with our mindset, how we talk to ourselves, and how we truly create our own reality. All right, guys, that's all I got for you today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you're listening on Apple, make sure you give us a 5-star review. Remember, 5 stars only. That's all I accept. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you give us a thumbs up. And also make sure you are subscribed to the channel. All right, guys, we'll see y'all next week. Thank you.